So today I finally want to talk about the rest of the Season 9 update, everything outside of Vortigern. And it's during a sort of weird time. For some reason the Wulin are free to use this week, which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but there's a lot of Wulin running around, especially newer Wulin who don't really know how to use their heroes, on top of the already spotty matchmaking that's going on. Anyways, I've been waiting to talk about this since I wanted to play the improved heroes and the Shugoki rework, so let's not waste any more time and get right into it. So let's start off with the Shugoki rework. I really think that Yubi went 2 for 2 this season. Vortigern is a good hero, and now Shugoki is just a great balanced addition to the game. The new Shugoki rework is really fun. Honestly, as I was using him, I was genuinely having more fun than I was when I was playing with Vortigern, just because there's more to do. Vortigern has a pretty linear playstyle for the most part, at least currently, until people figure things out, but Shugoki feels like he has options. Again, it's not too deep, but his mix-ups can catch people off guard, allowing you to have some really satisfying moments that not many other heroes have. It all really boils down to Demon's Embrace, Feint, Guard Break, or Let It Fly, but I mean, it's just really fun to use. It's not perfect, it's not too strong, and it's not too weak. He's not this master duelist all of a sudden because of the rework, but I mean, at least he can do something now. And in 4s, he's a great help in team fights and can stall an anti-gank for a pretty long time. I want to talk about this new mix-up though. There are two things that really get highlighted when playing with Shugo now: the headbutt and how it can all be avoided. So the headbutt at first glance looked like it was going to be this amazing tool, but it's pretty average. It's pretty easy to dodge, but if it does land, Shugo can try to mix his opponent while they're in this stun state. And yeah, they can't really move, but the actual stun or flash duration is so short that you can easily see what's coming next. It's not the biggest deal in the world. I just thought that it would have the same stun as, say, Raider's stunning tap. It does, however, put a lot of pressure on the opponent, forcing them to read what you're going to do next. And I'd love to see maybe either a bit more stun added or have the headbutt do a really small amount of damage, less than a gladiator toe stab, just so that it has more of a purpose. Now, after the headbutt, you can go into your mix-up, and a player who's awake and paying attention can sit there and react to whatever you're going to do next. And if they've practiced enough, they can literally just roll away. And I say practice enough because if you time it wrong, you can still get caught by Demon's Embrace. Anyways, you can watch Shugoki as he's charging his heavy and just wait. If you see him hunch over for a hug, dodge. If not, parry or counter guard break, which can be a tad annoying in duels as it's pretty hard to start up your offense and fights can go on for a while. But again, it's not really that big of a deal until everyone's really good at reading and countering Shugoki, which I don't think will happen. Other than that, I think Shugoki is fine. I think they did a really good job with him, and I mean that. I'm really shocked that Yubi put out 2 good characters in one season. I'm having more fun than I did before his rework and can hold my own in duels or 4s. His new zone actually does what a zone was made to do, you know, hold off multiple enemies at once, and it clears minions really fast. The hyper armor on attacks work well. For a second I thought that it wouldn't trade too well, but it does. The light attacks don't get parried all the time because they're faster. I like that you can feint the charge heavy so far into the animation, and I like the removal of the one-shot kills and passive hyper armor. And I also like the fact that the Demon's Embrace isn't a complete death sentence in team fights anymore. It can still really hurt you pretty bad if the other team can wait, but now that everything interrupts it, you aren't just completely doomed if you get caught in a Demon's Embrace, and I really like that, as I'm not a fan of crowd control literally ripping you out of fights and ending you almost immediately. Overall, I really like Shugoki. I can't stress that enough. I'm really hoping that they keep this up in upcoming seasons. Next season we get the Axe Samurai, and I'm assuming another rework. I'm guessing it's going to be Lawbringer. And if they can do what they did here, I'd be pretty happy. I like the new animations he has. I like the way his style feels now, and I can see myself playing him more after I get Vortigern to a higher rep. Now let's talk about Peacekeeper and Warlord after their improvements. Starting with Warlord, as I feel he got the better improvements. I think this brings Warlord closer to what he's supposed to be. He's stronger basically. If you liked Warlord in Season 8, you'll like him even more in Season 9. They nerfed his crashing charge so that it isn't so overbearing, but it's not completely gutted and it's still usable in 4s and is great against opponents who are out of stamina or opponents who just can't deal with the crashing charge mix-up. I was really expecting them to destroy crashing charge, but they didn't, and there's nothing wrong with that as it's a bit easier to react to now. Other than that, he plays about the same. His chains are a great improvement so that follow-up attacks aren't free parries and he can catch players who thirst for parries. The switch to making his own undodgeable, again, doesn't change much because, I mean, it always had great tracking and range before, but this just makes it so that you can't escape it at all. And making the full block not freeze your stamina for a while is a nice change for Warlord mains. I've always been interested in Warlord, and now I think I'll play him a tad bit more. Overall, I think these changes made him a better hero, unless you only abused his unlock charge. As for Peacekeeper, I mean, she's better. The thing with Peacekeeper is that she really excels nowhere. She didn't do enough to be a great duelist before, despite getting a brand new soft feint, and she didn't do too much in 4s. And Yubi's been trying to get Peacekeeper in the right spot for like 3 or 4 seasons now. And honestly, I still don't think they're there yet. These improvements have improved her. She can finally execute people now that she can land a heavy off of a guard break, and her damage buffs are there, but they're really small damage buffs, so they're not too noticeable. Also, she can throw out her zone without losing like half her stamina unless she lets the whole thing fly. I can tell they're still trying to be careful with Peacekeeper. They really don't want her to be as powerful as she once was, but they also don't want her to be bland and they want people to play her. And I'm not sure that there's much they can do right now other than give her some new attacks or rework her again. Overall, I just really like this season. It's been a really good one. There haven't been any real problems. Everything's been going smooth, and my only gripe so far has been the matchmaking. Sometimes matches are just so lopsided, and I'm not just talking about a group of random players being pitted against a 4-man stack. I'm seeing players who are genuinely new fighting players who are like 20 times their rep. And again, I know rep doesn't mean skill, but it does mean experience, and it can't be fun getting matched against someone who has hundreds of hours over you. I've been fighting a lot of the same people over and over again too. I'm used to it happening a couple times in one day, but I've been seeing the same names in groups days in a row. But I'm sure that this really won't be a problem as players play more games and get their skill ratings where they need to be. It feels a lot like Season 3 to me, just an overall solid season with no real problems. Any problem is really minor. Vortiger didn't ruin the game at all. To me, he made it a bit better, as he's fun to play, and as I said in my last video, the only real problems he has is his insanely fast recovery after whiffing the shield bash, and that 20 damage is too much for a confirmed light attack. And his big issue is already being worked on. I like just about everything that's been added, even the new map, and the only thing we're waiting to see is what that event is going to be for this season, because hopefully it'll be fun and unique enough to fight off that mid-season lull that's bound to happen at some point, as I'm not sure how long these two will keep everyone entertained. Also, before I go, if you didn't know, the game is free on PS4 for those of you who play on PS4 and want to get your friends involved, and I'm guessing that's why the Wulin heroes are free to play. PlayStations are the only platform that hadn't gotten the game for free yet, so there's bound to be a ton of new players running around, and I mean, just like in previous times, try not to grief or be toxic just to be toxic, as I really think this game is really in its best state, and I think it really has a chance to keep first-time players playing. Anyways, that's all I've got for this video. It is a bit late, but honestly, would it be an infinite video if it was on time? I got caught up playing Apex Legends, and honestly, it's really addictive and is a game I'll be playing for the next few days during my free time, as I'm just having so much fun with it. I do want to hear from you guys though, so talk to me down in the comments about anything we talked about in this video. But honestly, I really want to hear how you feel about Shugoki. I released a poll yesterday, and it looks like the majority of you guys either think he's perfectly balanced as all things should be, or he's just a tad too weak or too strong. Also, tell me how you feel about Warlord and PK if you play those heroes. And as usual, if you agree with me or just like the video, feel free to like something new. and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.